Just wait for some of y'all to get on here. I wonder if the Sportsman 700 do some burnouts in here. All these other things do up here. Oh, they are. Oh, no green screen. What's going on, Twin Lights? It's daylight here on this one, this live. Last time it was already dark out. We'll see how this wind goes. It's been windy as hell here all day here, just blowing it down. Sounds like it's dying down now, just in time for it to get cold. We'll see though. What's going on, Brittany? Move that around a little bit. What all does this have over here? There's so many things. Like, oh, nope, not that. Guess you can make the camera go away. How's the audio? The audio pretty good. Like, moving this microphone around so I don't hear me breathing so much. I don't know if it's the mic's just picking up more or being sick. Like, feels like for 2 months straight now. Here's some of the stuff that's in the shop. Still waiting on parts for the Prairie right there. USPS really screwed me on that one. That one, those will probably be here tomorrow. That's UPS for that Big Bear. The Maverick is a friend of mine's. I'm getting that taken care of. And there's the Kubota, or at least what's left of it. And the Sportsman, my Can-Am. My kid's quad's back there, the little pink one. There's a little red one on the other side of it too. That's good to hear the audio is good. What's going on, William? The Can-Am, it actually drives. I drove that in here. That will be on the channel, unlike the last one that I did. That one, the last one, that was just a fix for a buddy of mine. It was just a wet clutch. Hey, William, just chilling. Twin Lights, no, my screen did not freeze up. There's a bunch of buttons over here, and I've always been curious what all they do. And so I was messing with them, and turns out one of them cuts everything off. And I'm guessing the microphone button right there does that. And evidently there's green screen, so I can come over here and do a picture of something. Let's see something I did today. Oh yeah, right there. Kubota hour meter. Yep, see? Yeah, should have good signal out here. I have to leave the tripod. I did it on a tripod this time, so my hands don't shake when it gets cold. And so I got good signal. It says I got 3 bars. Can't load Craigslist though. I don't know, if somebody else who actually has, I don't have internet at my house. And I don't have internet here at the shop. If you have internet, does Craigslist load for you? I was trying to load that earlier just to take a look. Won't do nothing. I know, William said Craigslist is full of weirdos, man. I know. But every now and then you can find a decent deal on there. I get a few hits from people. I do wanted section. I put wanted, ATV, side by side, whatever. I put all that in there, and every now and then I'll get hits. But what's weird is like I won't hear nothing for 6 months. And then like the last time I got some hits on one of my ads, I got hit like 3 texts that week. William said people trying to trade you imitation crab meat and stuff. Man, that right there is also Facebook Marketplace. I had posted, so like on all of these units, when they come in, like if the wiring's ghetto and it's got like light bars and stuff, I'll pull all that off. I'm not sitting here and spending hours trying to troubleshoot to make it work, especially when you mount the light bars somewhere stupid, because I'm picky about it. Like you can see on that Maverick, you see how the light bar is mounted nice and flush with the roof where it looks good. It looks like it belongs. Where like some of them, they'll just screw it to the top of the rack and it looks stupid to me. So like I take all that off. So I put all the light bars I had as a lot on Marketplace. I thought, all right, cool. And all the tweakers came out. I had one dude trying to trade me a flashlight, some PS4 games or something like that. I don't even have a game console. What else was he trying to trade me? It was just off the wall stuff. Yeah, that right there. People using speaker wire and drywall screws to mount it up. So like even when you screw it down, it's still loose up there. No, I'm not doing that. And to try to get everything working and the wiring look up to par to what I would want it to look if it were my personal unit, it's just too much work to be worth it. And no one cares about the light bars. I've never met anyone who was like it made the deal, like having a light bar on it. Years ago when they were more expensive, maybe. Nowadays you get on Amazon and get what? One of those, well I don't know about Amazon. I know on eBay, you can get on eBay and buy 2 of the 22-inch, like that. 2 of the 22-inch double row light bars for like $30. And so it's not really a big deal. And like for me, like to buy rigid light bars, like that's like, that a 22-inch light bar is what, $1,500 or something like that. I'd rather replace it. That's if I even keep whatever I have it on long enough. X-Brite, I've never heard of the X-Brite one. Nightlight, yeah, one of the ones that I sold in that lot was a Nightlight. One was like a Traveler, and then some other no-name brand stuff that was, whatever. I did keep one of them and put it on my trailer, so when I put it in reverse, the light bar lights up across the deck so I can see where I'm going in reverse, because I can't see nothing at night going in reverse. I was told there's a little bit of a delay with the comments coming in versus from what I see. What you guys working on this week? What you riding? I see, William, you got something in the picture right there. William said, best thing I got for our trailer is a wireless Amazon backup camera. Yeah. I could see, especially with a, what's it called? Enclosed, or like an RV. That would be nice, because you can't see through it. Off the streets and in the creeks said, Ranger carb still kicking my butt. It will run perfect with a gravity feed. I've done everything to the carb. I've set the float height to spec. OEM carb still flooding out. You told me you put a new fuel pump on that too, didn't you? Maybe it's a faulty pump. I've seen some of those You said Amazon pump is what you put on it, gold pump. I've seen some of those be faulty, but mine always die out first before, like, whatchamacallit, flooding the carb. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. William said, I just put 35s on our 25 Maverick R. Maverick R. Is that an X3? Or is it a Maverick like this one? I don't know. As much as I like the Can-Am models, I don't know the new stuff very well. Off the Streets and in the Creek said it has an Amazon gold pump and I have a new in the box. Do you have the right size fuel line on there? That's the only thing. I mean, I've never seen one do that. Like if your float height is set right, I mean, send me a video, take the hose off and point it somewhere, not at the engine, somewhere safe, I guess. And send me a video of send me a video of the fuel coming out so I can take a look at it. I have a weird sense that I can look at it and know that that's right. Even the EFI is like, that's how I check fuel pressure. I know it's not very good if you're right there on the edge where you're like needing 45 PSI and it's got 39, but you know, if it's got 18 and it needs 45, you could tell the difference visually. William said newer. It's the 7-speed DCT transmission with those weird front A-arm things over. Oh, that's right. Oh, those are sweet. How is that riding that? Those look like a lot of fun, and I saw, you know, when those came out, everybody's complaint that I saw on the internet was, you can't put big tires on it. Well, it's meant to be a race unit. Right? Well, I seen somebody, one of those brands came out with a whole knuckle assembly that basically you could go with whatever size tire you want with it. Daniel said, what up, Doc, man? We're just out here chilling in the cold here in the shop. Been a long day, that's for sure. Waiting on parts. It is ridiculous. I don't know about y'all. Y'all having issues with USPS? Actually, FedEx, probably the only one I haven't had an issue with recently, but like I've only gotten like 3 probably out of 80 packages that I've ordered. UPS is just as bad, but I think it's my local carrier. Off the Streets in the Creek said it's coming out of the top of the carb too. Another thing, you know, the vacuum port on top, it won't run with it closed on gravity feed. It's coming out on the top of the carb too. Another thing, you know, the vacuum port on top, it won't run with it closed on gravity feed. So you're talking about like if you got the carb facing the dash, and you're sitting there to the right, there's no nipple over here to the left-hand side, and then on the right-hand side, there's a nipple. That one should be closed off. That is just vacuum for the Sportsman's pneumatic fuel pump. And then if it has one on top of the diaphragm cover, and it's got the little nipple with the cover on the back, that should be closed too. But then on the back, there should be 2 more right there. You know what? Hold on. I'm doing all this explanation. I got ones on my bench. These 2 should be open. Is this where it's overflowing out of? This one should be closed, and on the cover up here, if it has the one that's on there too, that one should be closed off. All of those should be closed. And like, I'll be honest with you, there is the way I do it, because I tried to explain it to you over text, it didn't make any sense. When you put the float bowl on, there's the little thing that comes out of the bottom. I put a hose on there, loosen that screw, I put my gravity feed thing on here, and then when I put that on there, I'll hold the hose up like right here, and then what you want to happen is that hose, the fuel line level, to be right here level with the bowl. I don't know if that's right. I just remembered reading it one day, and that's what I've always done. It works great. Mr. Pancake said favorite ATV and why. That's a hard one, man. I'm gonna be honest with you, dude. I'd ride a dumpster if it had wheels on it. I'm in love with my Can-Am right now. That thing, it's got power for days. You know, I was a big fan of sport quads for a while. Really like sport quads, especially because they're so light and easy to maneuver. But once you get used to the weight of something like that Outlander, I mean, because with me on it, it's 1,000 pounds. It might have been 1,100 pounds. Either way, that's still a lot of weight for a quad, especially if you roll it. That's gonna sting. That's gonna sting real bad. And so that one right now, my Outlander, yeah, that's probably my favorite quad at the moment, but you still can never beat having a $500, $300 beater that you could just take out and not care about. You know, I love the Outlander, but when I get out there and do some stuff in it, you know, I won't do the same sketchy stuff I would on, we'll say, like that Big Bear that I paid $300 for. That's $300. Like, what's the worst that's gonna happen to it? I really want to get myself into something like this soon. That thing's probably a lot of fun. William said it's credible. It's not even like a side-by-side, next level. I've seen that. Like, you could fire. Those things can rip through, like, what was that? King of Hammers. You seen those things out there, just those wheels just going like this. Oh, man, that looks like a lot of fun. Daniel said, yeah, it sucks. I be honest with you, I have already forgot what I was referring to. William Doge fired USPS. Yeah, we're so screwed. Yeah, we're so screwed. They better figure out my packages, because all I'm waiting for on this one right here is the head gasket. And it finally made it to our local distribution center right now. I made it to Tulsa today. It hasn't moved at all since last Monday. So this should have been done last week. I've been waiting, but like, what are you gonna do? Like, I got the gasket kit. I can't put the piston in without the gasket kit. So kind of bummer there. Alfred Buster said, hey man, wanted to say I appreciate your channel. High value and underrated channel. I still have my certified shitbox operator shirt from a couple of years ago. Keep it up. I appreciate it, man. You're the only one that bought it. So I remember who you are. You said you were a teacher down in Texas. So that's pretty cool. Brian, we'll have to do a run Scramble 850 versus Can-Am 850. You know what? I want to do that, and I want to record it. We do a video on that, but I'll be honest with you, my Outlander's gonna smoke that thing. It's faster. Off the streets and in the creek said, yes, if I closed off the top, on top, it won't run with a gravity feed. The 2 ports on the back is where the gas is shooting out with an electric fuel pump. Like I said, with the gravity feed, it'll run perfectly. If I closed off that top, something's wrong. Something is wrong, and I don't really know what to tell you without, because I can't see it, but if you're closing this off and it won't run with that gravity feed, something's wrong. It's internal with the carb, and I would take the entire carb off and go through it again, because this one right here just creates suction through your import, because like the port for it is right there. That doesn't, and the other side of it goes up into your diaphragm. So if that's the case, maybe you've got something, a blockage in this causing your issue. That's the best thing I could think of. Daniel said, hi, what's going on, Daniel? William said, don't sleep on the Maverick Sport. You can get them cheaper and they are excellent. We had one before the R and loved it. Honestly, I want an X3. The Sport is the one that's not as wide, right? There was one down towards Dallas that I was eyeballing this week. It was blue, but it had been wrecked. It had very low hours on it. Maybe it was a Sport Trail. They make too many models. Man, Can-Am makes way too many models. And I think they wanted like $4 grand. Had no cage on it. Like the whole side was scraped up. Didn't look that bad. Maybe a wheel or two, maybe a tire or two. Probably a good deal. Dave Attell, hi from Mountain Home, Arkansas. What's going on, man? I've been up there. I'm just across the border in Oklahoma. Raptor Crazy said, check the hoses if they're clean or not. Yeah, that too. You should check the hoses. That'd be a good idea. Mr. Pancake, what's the craziest or most sketchy ride you've potentially been on? Okay, so I was first starting out in all of this, and I really didn't have much experience. We're talking, this would have been 2013, 2014. I go out and some dude's like, hey, I got a three-wheeler. It's been parked out in my yard for a long time. And I'm like, all right, what you want for it? I want to say he said, it was like 150 bucks. So I go out there, I buy it, pick it up, bring it home. I get it running. And I go to ride it, and it hangs in first gear. And it just, wah! Well, what made it sketchy was it had a golf cart tire on the front. So they had rigged, you know, they had the white wheels, and it's like the perfectly flat. And then they took four-wheeler tires and drilled them to fit the bolt pattern. Now, I didn't mention what it was because it got real sketchy because it was a 250R. I bought a 250R for 150 bucks. I think it was an air-cooled one. I don't remember. I really wish I had took pictures. I didn't know what I bought. I didn't know what I was doing, and man, that was the sketchiest thing. Aside from that, probably, and I sold that thing for 400 bucks, and it sold like that. And I was like, man, why did it sell so fast? Who wants this ghetto thing? Not realizing, you know, it's a 250R. Even if it was air-cooled, a running air-cooled 250Rs, that's not a cheap bike. But that was before everything kind of went buck wild with 2020. And the second one would be, I had a friend of mine, I have a friend who he had gotten a hold of a couple Sportsman 450s. He had gotten 4 of them. There was some wealthy dude who like bought those for the people who came over to ride, and these things were trashed with low hours too. This was right before the pandemic in 2020, or maybe during. No, it was during 2020, while they had everything shut down. He's like, hey, you interested in these? And I was like, maybe a little bit. And I was like, you want to come up off that YFZ you got in there? And he's like, yeah, I ain't never gonna do nothing with it. All right, cool. So I got the YFZ and both of the, I think there were 16 Sportsman 450s. If you go to my ibuyjunkatvs.com Facebook page, it still has the picture there. So I get the YFZ, and he had the motor built, but someone screwed up. I got it, and I started checking it out and found out it was losing compression because they didn't tighten the bolts all the way down. I don't know if they didn't do the proper torque sequence or what, but the bolts, one of the bolts was like finger loose, and we're talking head stud. So I tightened them down just to try it out. I fired up, take it for a spin. It was a 4mm Stroker Kit 500 on street tires. It had those street tires that are, I guess people use them for the city takeovers or whatever. And that thing was sketchy because it pulled so hard on the pavement that it just wanted to stand up. And you could tell like the difference between the tire pressures on the rear. So one of the rear tires kept losing air. I think I could make it like, I don't know, 30 minutes before it was flat. And that was sketchy. That was pretty sketchy. And it didn't do nothing in the grass. It was just too much. And it was way too much in the grass because it had street tires on it. And then where are we at? X3 is a 64/72. Sport is 64. I'm gonna have to look into that. Off the streets in the creek. Did you see those mules over the weekend? 2 3010 trans mules, 650 bucks. a piece around Dallas. And then today, a 3010 mule for 250, all gone before I could get to them. Nah, I didn't see those. I haven't been on Marketplace. I've been trying to knock out everything I got in here, including that Kubota I got from you. That's almost gone. I think it's the biggest pain to take apart. I won't ever do that. I will never tear down a Kubota again. And you got some awesome toys down there. Bradley said I own a Can-Am 1000 and a Renegade 1000. I wanted the XXC 1000. Those are sweet. The Renegades, man, those are good looking units. They are. But like as where we're at now, I used the Outlander too much in the shop daily to go back to like a Renegade. And I just use it for so much to move these machines around. Brittany said the Danger Ranger. Yeah, you're right. The Danger Ranger was pretty sketchy. Since so I can't insert the video here. It was a 6x6 Ranger that a buddy of mine, he bought it. And I had been watching it, but like the parts to fix it, it was too much. And those 99 Rangers, they don't part out very well. So I was like, I don't want it. Dude had it posted for $1,500 at first. And it was covered with green stuff. He didn't bother washing it. He just bought it and got it running. And I guess my buddy bought it from him for $600. He hits me up and he's like, hey, I don't know why I bought this thing. I'm like, all right. I'm not really all that interested in it. And he's like, yeah, it's not all that great because as soon as you go to take off, all it does is do wheelies. And I was like, hold up, pump the brakes. Now I'm interested. You're telling me this thing does wheelies? He's like, yeah. And so I'm like, all right, man, I got this Honda 300 over here. I know you want it. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. I said, how about I bring you this and $400? And that thing was a blast, but it didn't turn very well. It didn't have any brakes. Because the 99 Rangers, that master cylinder, it rots out real bad, and they're obsolete. You can't get them. Nobody's remaking them. If somebody remade the 99 Polaris Ranger 500 Master, you'd probably sell a lot of them. Because when I was looking for Masters, the ones that I found for that had been online and sold, they had sold for like 200, 250-ish. So it's an opportunity right there. But it was fun. It was a lot of fun. It was a whole lot of fun. Bradley said they're crazy and so powerful. I know, like my 850 is a monster, so I can only imagine the 1000s even more. And those new ones that came out, they're supposed to be like, what, 120 horsepower if I remember correctly? So, Mr. Pancake said, yo, what's one thing you want to do? Yo, what's one thing you for sure want to do before you die, like a bucket list thing? When it comes to the power sports related stuff, I don't know. Probably hit 1 million subscribers. I have a collection. A collection is something I'd really like to have. Like, you know, just racks. You know, you see those people who got just too many. Like they don't get road because there's too many of them. That's what I'm talking about. And yeah, Bradley, I don't have no signal in the shop, so my Outlander is right there. It's in front of the Sportsman. It's a 24 model. That thing, it's a beast. It's a beast. If that Polaris wasn't behind it, I'd probably just move it over here. It's made me a fan of Can-Am for sure. I will say I think Polaris is easier to work on. Raptor Crazy said, how about a good woman taking care of you and she doesn't gripe about everything? I have that. My wife she's fantastic. She's on here. She's always on my lives watching. So she actually bought me the Outlander for Christmas. Kind of hard to top that. You off the streets and in the creeks, You still have the Sportsman 700? Yes. Yes, I do. I got a lot of messages on it, but nobody's serious. Nobody's came to look at it or nothing. I don't know. I don't know if it's the market or asking too much. I think it's on Marketplace for $2,300. Had a lot of offers for like $1,500, $1,600. They don't. Nothing real good, but I got like 16 in it. It was to Mr. Raptor Crazy said it was to Mr. Pancake. Oh, never mind, never mind. Now I get it, now I get it. I'm slow sometimes. I'm slow. I've been working on clearing this thing out over here though. I realized I was buying too many Polarises because I have all these parts for them. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna sell it all. Get rid of all of it. I don't want it. And that could push me to do more stuff outside of what's normal. Now, this one isn't mine, but after working on that one, I'll probably buy more of those. They're hard to find on a good deal. Like, the best deal I've seen on one of those is there was one on Marketplace maybe yesterday or a couple days ago, and it was clapped. It was clapped. $2,000. I am not singing that kind of money. Mr. Pancake said, hey, hope you reach that million, man. You seem like a good guy. Take care, God bless. I appreciate it, bro. Raptor Crazy, anything new in the shop lately? The only thing new, I told my buddy I'd take on his Maverick and this Big Bear. And I only bought this Big Bear because I bought another Big Bear that I shouldn't have bought. That my best plan of action for it was to like fix it, and then I started looking at it. I did not look it over when I got it, so let me grab this real quick. Keep in mind, I didn't look it over when I bought it because I only paid $50 for it. That's the piston. See where the rod, like it bent the wrist pin. It broke the rod smooth off. I don't know how you do that on a Big Bear 350. I don't get it, but you do. All that, what's left of it's got to go to the scrap yard. I pulled a couple things for some parts for it, some stuff that was worth some money. I was like, all right, whatever, we'll get it. And yeah, that was. I don't know why I bought that. Like, I thought I was gonna fix it, and then I got it home. Oh yeah, and the muffler was. I somehow didn't even notice this loading it up in the truck. So I bought the other one because I was like, you know what? I need this one for parts. I can utilize these and make one. That's probably the only way this thing was gonna be useful. Oh man, so that video will be, one of these videos are gonna come out this Sunday, and then the other one will be the following Sunday. Nick Bolt said, I have a Kawasaki Brute Force 750. You know, a buddy of mine at Brutal Parts says he has a Kawasaki Brute Force that is the fastest on the planet. I think he said it's expensive engine. I don't know what he's got in that thing. If he's on here, he'll chime in. Raptor Crazy said, come on everyone, put a thumbs up. Yeah guys, I appreciate it. Off the Streets and in the Creek said, damn, that Polaris 700 I picked up is definitely a project. Almost all the wires are cut. You know, if it's a carb one, those aren't too expensive on the harness. I ran across something not too long ago that said the 500 harness was the same as the 700 harness. And it very well may be, because those Polaris made everything, kind of like fit everything. But that thing, it looked like a 02. Judging by the plastics. Off the Streets and in the Creek said, I got a camo Big Bear 350 locked up. Lowball me. You can have it next time you come down this way. Man, these Big Bear 350s aren't worth the gas money to haul it back. The extra gas money it's gonna cost to haul it back from your place, man. Raptor Crazy said, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt your chat. Waiting on the next live. Have a good one. You too, Raptor Crazy. You didn't interrupt. We're all good, bro. Off the streets, you said it's EFI. Oh yeah, that might be a little more expensive. Those EFI ones, they're not as cheap. They're definitely not near as cheap as like the carb ones. But you don't end up dealing with the carb issues, because that was a lot of fun dealing with the carb on that one. Trying to get those Chinese carbs, dude, they never work the same as OEM. Brutal Part, see, there he is. I have a brute look in action. You said you got the fastest brute force in the nation, right? You said it's faster than a jet. At some point, I think I'm gonna have to do a brute force, just cause. I'm gonna have to put a crank in one. Maybe that'll help tone down my brute hate. Off the streets in the creek. I have a carb 700 also. Honestly, I forgot why I parked it. You know what I saw earlier is another friend of mine north of me. And he might be on here. He had a 04 Ranger 500. Those only came in 500s with a 700 engine in it, carbed, which did not. You can't. I do not think they ever made a carb 700 Ranger, and it had the 700 EFI dash, and yeah, it said EFI on the dash, the hood. Craziest thing I've seen. Brittany said, fire up the Outlander. I gotta move that Polaris and everything. I don't want to get all that out. Tyler Bosley said, what's the side-by-side in the back? That is a buddy of mine's. It's a 2013 Maverick 1000. That one needs a bunch of maintenance. That's all it is. It's a pretty decent ride. He got a really good deal the way he got that. Brutal Parts said, not the fastest, but it hurts some feelings. We'll see about that. Off the streets and in the creek said, I got a brute 750 and a 650. Let me know, we can work a deal. Man, I'm not gung-ho to buy I definitely won't buy a 650. It'll have to be a 750 because the resale value has to be there. We'll see. Bradley said, bring the Outlander over here. Where are you at? Are you, man, I'm drawing a blank. It's a lot of people to try to remember where everybody's at. It's the weirdest thing, though. I will not remember your names. I could never remember everybody's name. But I could remember your bike, what kind of cams you got, what tires you're running. I'll remember if you told me how much PSI you had, if you did some front diff work to make it be able to lock up a little bit better, if you got clutches in it. It's the weirdest thing. I'll remember what kind of truck you drive, down to the year model, what motor's in it, transmission. Can't remember names. The Ozark Hunter said, yo, what's up? What's going on, man? I assume you're up there in Missouri. It's nice land out there. Brutal Parts said, it's a standard bore 750. I use it on the farm pulling a wood splitter. The cams have 180-degree duration for some reason. You do something other than work in the shop? What's 180-degree duration? I don't know what that means. Brother Nez says, I have a 2016 Rancher 420. I replaced the starter and solenoid. Got it started and running a couple of days ago. Ooh, going too fast. which now it won't start. Could it be the carburetor? Well, for one, that won't have a carb, that'll have a throttle body. What I would do, I assume by now it won't start. It's still turning over. You press the start button, it still turns over. Check if you're getting fuel, because that's going to be fuel injected. If it's the same as the older ones, the fuel pump, if you're sitting on it, it's going to be like, if you're sitting on it, it's going to be like, I don't know, 6 inches northwest of your, northwest of your shin. Man, I need a compass to remember that. Like, I'm like, which way's west? But that fuel pump, make sure that's priming when you kick the key on. And then check the, I hate to tell somebody to do this on live because I don't want to get myself in trouble. Here's what I would do. I would spray carb cleaner directly into the throttle body to see if it fires up. And of course, make sure the on and off switch, we went through that not too long ago, that the switch was off. The switch was off, and I thought the battery was dead. I charged the battery, and I was getting aggravated because it's a 2-week-old battery. That's crazy. And I thought the key just got left on. No, the switch was off. So make sure your switch is on. Brutal Parts said, off the streets, let's talk about a deal. Bradley, please bring it over here. Where are you at, man? I don't know where you're at. Like, I don't know where everybody is. It's not like a map on here. Ozark Hunter said, yes, sir. It's awesome hunting up here. I imagine so. A friend of mine lives, and I don't remember the city, but it's like northwest of Springfield, like an hour in the middle of nowhere. And he's been hunting up there, and he's been seeing some big stuff. Off the streets and in the creeks, I can't find no cores for my Ranger 800. I have a friend that said that the 2011 up Ranger 800 have a different case, something about the cam sensor. Yeah. I don't know about the cam sensor side of that, but that very well could be what it is. The Sportsman 800 shares the same 800 engine as the 2010 Ranger. The 2012, 2011 has different cases. I know when I went through that with a Razor, that was exactly what the problem was. I dropped that whole motor in there, get everything bolted up, and I no joke, that cam sensor was the last sensor I was plugging in to find out that the older ones were different. The older ones are on the stator cover, and the newer ones are mounted into the crankcase, or vice versa. I can't remember which one's which. But yeah, and I will, if I see it again, I will send it to you. I figured you already got a motor. So yeah, I ran across one on Marketplace for really cheap just a couple days ago. Brother Ned says, I'm getting fuel and spark. Well, the next thing you're probably gonna have to do is do a compression test. Did you just buy this thing? That would be my concern, but do a compression test and look up what your compression should be for that. I'm thinking, I can't remember if that one has the auto decompression or not. One cool thing though is if you do end up having to do a new top end or something on that, the 500 top end is supposed to be a direct bolt-on, so you can get a little more power out of it. Yeah, because you got that new body style, the 15 and up. Off the creeks and in the streets said, my Ranger 800 case is broke on the inside. The connecting rod is jammed up on the PTO side. I don't know, man. It depends on how broke. If there's no hole, it might still be sendable. It might still be just fine. I know those cases are like $500, but if it's a 2010, that's a lot. a lot easier to get a hold of, because I want to say the 2011 Ranger cases, I was looking at some, and they were like $400 or $500. Caden Williams said, love the vids, brother. Hey man, I appreciate it. You know, I put a lot of time and effort into these, so the feedback is much appreciated. Brother Nez said, no, I've had it for a while now. It sat for a year because of the starter. I just recently got the starter. You know, I had a buddy of mine had Brian had, he was on here earlier. I don't know if he's still here. He had a not sportsman, it was a Foreman, 500. It was a 12 or a 13, that weird body style that was in between the cool early 05 to 11 Foremans, and then you had the new ones that are 14 and up that are cool looking, and then there's like the weird ones. Yeah, he kept having issues. I was like, dude, change the spark plug out on that thing. Ran great afterwards. Smoked, but it ran great. That's one of those things. It's so easy to look past. Like, you're getting spark, but it's not unheard of for you to be getting spark, and spark plug doesn't do what it needs to do once it's in the hole. So I would try that out and a compression test. If it's sat for a while, then that might. And another option would be is if the ring started to seize up on the piston. It worked for me. I don't know if it'll work for you, but the 700, if you saw the last video I did, I put ATF in the cylinder, and that helped to free it up. Brutal Parts reached out to me and said, hey man, if you put, what was it, acetone. I keep wanting to call it nail polish, but acetone. With the ATF, it'll thin it down a little bit and help it break that apart a little bit better. So that very well could be part of your problem. So I would definitely run a compression test. If you don't have a compression tester, you can rent one at O'Reilly's. I've had to do that in the past because I was questioning the 3 that I have, and one of them works. I don't know why I have 3. I need to toss 2 of them. Off the streets and in the creeks. Did I tell you I caught my Ranger on fire, leaking gas? Went to jump the solenoid, one little spark and it blew up. I saved it with about 15 bottles of water, burnt my seat and starter boot. I can't remember which bike it was, if it was my bike or Brian's bike, but we were in the old shop, and it was his. It was a CRF 250F, and something was wrong with the timing. So went to start it. It backfires, catches the airbox on fire, and if I remember, he took his shirt off. And I'm like, what are you doing? He's just like smacking it, freaking out, and I'm laughing. And the first thing I go to grab is the first tank, and it's a gas tank. I ended up going to the sink and getting water. We put it out, no big deal. I've caught a lot of units on fire, so don't feel bad. A&M Machine said, sup, bud? How's business down there? It's been slow up here. Like, I can't sell nothing. I say that, I finally sold those light bars I was talking about earlier. Off the streets and in the creeks, 2013. Yeah, so you have to have 11 and up crankcases. Jensen Motorsports. I watch a lot of different YouTubers, and you are quickly becoming my favorite YouTube channel. It is great to contact, keep up with the good work. Know how you update the price of the rebuilds. You know, that's something I wanted to do, and I really appreciate the feedback, dude. That's awesome. That, like, I mean, to stand out amongst some of these other guys, especially some of the people who've got a lot more subscribers than I do, and a lot more reach than I do. But I want to be able to connect with everybody who watches the channel too, because it's just as cool. One of the things I wanted to do is just to be different, and you know, nobody shows that, like how much all this costs. Not all these units are just some big win for me. Like, I'm not making the money off YouTube. That's not paying these bills. I don't think YouTube will pay the electric bill this month. It's not that much money. But so some stuff like that Sportsman, you know, that was supposed to be a carb clean and be done. Maybe some tires. And lo and behold, I ended up dropping $600 or $700 or $800 more into it, however much it was. So it's not always a win, and I think it would be real easy to portray it that way. I guess I could. I I mean, I'd like to put everything in the videos, but it comes down to at a certain time, like, it would get boring, and I don't think anybody wants to watch an 8-hour long video of me trying to, like, standing there like, why is it doing this? I'm just thinking, you know? So I'm honest with everything, and you know, what surprises me is like that, you know, I don't know, it seems like, I lost my train of thought there. Anyway, I'll go on to the next one. Brutal Parts said, I caught me on fire today. Way to go. Oh, yeah. Brutal Parts said, yo, tell everyone about receiving a fire extinguisher in the mail. So he posted something, and for some reason I thought it'd be funny to send him my worn out 10mm socket. So I posted a video. This was not my video. This was a buddy of mine's video where he accidentally caught this little China bike on fire. So Brutal Parts, he sends me this over there, Brutal Parts up in North Carolina, they brutalparts.com, sends me a fire extinguisher. And I don't think I had that thing but like 2 weeks. And it was a King Quad 750 I had in the shop. This thing was supposed to be running when he parked it, and it never had any issues. His nephew just rode it around the farm. When we went to look at it, I called him out on it. I was like, dude, this has been rolled. He's like, nah, it ain't never been wrecked. I'm like, dude, this has been rolled. This damage only happens when you roll it. Because the racks were like bent down. So, you know, they got the metal racks. They're like bent down right there. The bars were kind of bent down. The pod was all broken. Everything was broken. It had been rolled. And I was like, man, I'm not even gonna believe this dude. So I'm not gonna give him what he's asking. I think I paid like $400 for the thing. I get it back to the shop. We're checking it out. We're turning it over. And I'm like, yeah, dude, this sounds good. This sounds good. I spray some carb cleaner in there. It won't start. Sounds like it wants to. I keep trying, keep trying. Boom! Whole thing's on fire. This is the first time I've used a fire extinguisher indoors. To those of you that have never used a fire extinguisher, that stuff goes everywhere. That stuff goes everywhere. Like, it's gonna have to be a for real emergency for me to use a fire extinguisher in this shop. Like, I think the shop's about to legit burn down. Cause you ain't never getting all that out of it. We ended up parting the unit out, and the only reason I was able to get everything out, all the fire extinguisher, whatever that white stuff is, was in the parts washer. I could fit most of the bike in the parts washer. Yeah, that was a whole lot of fun. Never again. And that bike, that Sportsman, no, not Sportsman, that King Quad, on my TikTok, it's one of the 3 pinned comments. It had rusted valves, like it had been sunk, if I remember correctly. And the cylinder walls were just destroyed, like destroyed, melted aluminum all up and down the wall. It was never gonna run like that. And if I remember right, when I popped off the piston, it might have needed a rod too. So, A&M Machine said, gotta get them cheap and sell them cheap right now. They're all sell if they're cheap enough. I know that. That's exactly for me. I mean, I'm in the middle of nowhere. I know that. But like that Sportsman, realistically, I'd like to be to where I could sell it for $1,700. Like if I was $500 into it, $600, or what I thought I would be initially, like $800. Yeah, let it go for 16. Out the door. But now I've got half of my, almost like 30-something hours in it, or I'm losing on mine. I'm losing that one. MS Spivvy 123. Really enjoy your channel and content. I look forward to each one. I appreciate it, man. I'd like to get to the point where I'm doing 2 a week. I have to get faster at editing, because right now it takes too long to edit the videos to get to that. And So one of these, I don't know which one, whichever one's parts come in first, those ones will be the ones for next week's video. Brought me extra water this week. I get cotton mouth talking so much. I'm pretty sure I talk more on one of these lives than I do an entire week. Brutal Parts said that Sportsman is about 3K around here. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I think if I was closer to like Dallas or Oklahoma City, it would be easier for me to get more. To get more out of it and sell it quicker, or even to get what I want out of it and sell it quicker. Because some of them, like what was it, the Grizzly 600? When I listed it, I sold that quick, and I had listed it for 200 more than what I anticipated wanting out of it. That one, I think I initially listed it for 24. Same thing with the Rangers. All those last 3 Rangers I sold, they did not go well. Not to mention, I don't know what happened. I know I didn't publish the 6x6 video, but there was so many Ranger videos back to back, I didn't want to drop another one. So that one's just gonna get released whenever. It's on the back burner. I'll release that sometime when I ain't got nothing else going on. I go to sell that unit and he fires it. I've been riding this thing around. He goes to fire it up, and all of a sudden it gets real out of my, hold on, cut it out. And I look underneath, the oil's everywhere. The drain plug on the bottom of the engine fell out. I don't know. I have no idea what happened there. Maybe a mistake on my part. Maybe it just rattled loose. I guess it would have to be a mistake on my part regardless, but all those Rangers I had, they took a week to sell a piece, which isn't normal for me. That's slow. Normally these units sell within 3 days is slow. I think one of those Rangers I had for like a week and a half on Marketplace, 2 weeks. And I didn't get but like 22 out of each one of them. Versus, what was that, back in, I don't know, December? Those same units would sell real quick for 25, take 25, list for 28. It's crazy. Raptor Crazy said, no, you're doing good. I appreciate it, man. Off the Streets and in the Creek says, I got 2 600. I'll never buy another one again. Money pits. Yeah. Those Grizzlies can be money pits. The 600s, because the parts are hard to get. You know, and the downside is like, an OEM carb for that was ridiculous. I cannot remember how much it was, but it was well over $600. I put it in the video, like a screenshot of it. A used OEM carb was six to 900, somewhere in that range, something just ridiculous. And it's getting to where these OEM carbs are getting ridiculous. And I guess some people are paying it. I got real lucky. So this Prairie right here, I got that from a subscriber down in Austin. It has a Chinese carb on it. He bought it that way. I hate Chinese carbs. Now, these ones might not be so bad, but whatever. I get online, like, how much is an OEM carb for this? And I start looking around, and lo and behold, I find an OEM carb for 30 bucks. Dirty, nasty. It's still sitting in the ultrasonic, but that was a great deal. 30 bucks for an OEM carb, you can't beat that. Now I know the Sportsman, the 500, the 600, the 700s, all those carbs, them carbs are just going up because a dude came by here to buy a hood off me for a Ranger. And he said he puts he likes to rebuild those in his spare time. He said it's more or less something to do to keep him busy. And he said, I used to put these OEM carbs on all of them. He said, them Chinese carbs are trash every time. They always overflow. And I was like, yeah, you got to tinker with those things forever to get that overflow issue to go away. It's such a pain. I don't, you know what, off the streets that might be, did you put an aftermarket kit in there? I know that's, anyway, that was off topic, but he's telling me, he's like, so I buy these carbs, brand new OEMs from Polaris. And I'm like, you go to the Polaris dealer and buy OEM carbs for something you're flipping? Like if all it needed was a carb, but like, I was like, man, get sellers who are refurbing those things. Because I understand the frustration with the Chinese carbs, but at the same time, by the time you put some of that money in there, it's not even worth it to mess with. I want to say that a new OEM carb for a 500 is, it's 550. I want to say it was 564 on Rocky Mountain because I looked not too long ago. Oh, you said it's Amazon carb, still same result, flooding out. I meant the float needle. The float needle itself. Oh, hey, check if the float floats. I think you gotta boil it. Boil it in water while your wife's not home, so she doesn't know, because it's gonna smell like gas. It's gonna stink. I've done one once. You boil, if I remember right, you boil it. Look that up. Look that up. Don't quote me on that. I might be wrong. Because if boiling it might melt the glue that's between those. Now you got me second guessing myself. Yeah, it might melt the glue where it goes to right there. This is the finest Chinesium money can buy. You know, I believe these are all the same. There's the HO carb and non-HO carb, but they're all the same between the 500s, 600s, 700s, 400s, 450s. The only difference is the HO, non-HO. Raptor Crazy said Polaris 500 and 600 have problems with the jets and the carburetors back in the day. Don't know if they ever got to fix. I mean, the 500 and the 600 are two different platforms. The 600 and the 700 are pretty much the same. But they are, like I was just saying, they're pretty much the same carb. I'm pretty sure they're the exact same carb body. They just have different jetting. Trying to think. I've never heard any issues with that. Diaphragm issues I've heard of with the carbs. Never with the jetting. Brutal Parts said OEM is light years better than new Chinese. Yeah, on most parts. Most parts. Some of this stuff that I've been buying, I can't remember what I bought the other day that I was like, this is better than OEM. I wish I could remember what that was. Well, I'm drawing a blank. I don't remember what it was at this point. There's some of those Chinese parts that aren't bad, but when it comes to carbs, no, OEM is the way to go. Way better. Way, way better. I'll get here. Get all off topic, being floppy with the float. Oh, you guys, is it windy where you live? It got busy there for a minute, now it's died off. It's been blowing wind all day. Been nice and warm up until today. I was like, yeah, we're gonna get alive and it's not gonna be cold outside. Lo and behold, I can't feel my fingers. They're so cold. Hey, Brutal Parts, while I got you on here, bro, you could have mentioned to me that these Kubotas are the worst thing ever to tear down. If I would have known that, I would have sent this thing back to auction. I started stripping that today, and I got to a point that I'm like, all right, well, I'm just gonna turn it over on its side and start cutting all those million bars out that it has for that rear swing arm engine chassis thing, and then I'm gonna cut off everything around it and go from there. I pulled the hub off without draining the transaxle. That was a big mistake. That was a big mistake. Because that transaxle holds a lot of fluid. Wow. That's gotta be 5 quarts in there. More than a gallon. And whatever it was red. It looked like ATF, I guess. And then the engine definitely drained all of it, but like half a quart, if that. That's probably what it is. And it was not good looking oil. It was not good looking oil. But when I popped that rear hub off, that stuff just started coming out the axle. And I was like, what? Put the hub back on. I'll figure this out in a minute. The Ozark Hunter said, could you give me a shout out? You don't have to, just wondering. You know, I don't really know how to do that. Like, I guess, how do you shout? I've seen other YouTubers do that with like sharing people. I don't know how to do that. It's just the Ozark Hunter with no spaces. So y'all have to search that. I guess you do some hunting on your channel, bro? Brutal Parts said, bro, the actual worst. Yes. No, I mean, hands down. Like, of all the units I've ever torn down, this taught me one thing. I don't want to work on Kubotas. I had gotten a diesel one in here not too long, I don't know, like a month ago. I started messing with this and I was like, I don't want to do this. Maybe a gas engine. I started messing with this one, I'm like, no, this sucks. This is terrible. Whoever designed this did not design it to be friendly for somebody to work on. Now the front diff, that's got to be the easiest front diff I've ever pulled. Raptor Crazy said, yes, Kubotas, if something is wrong, you basically have to rebuild. Not the best investment. I hear a lot of things living in Kentucky. And you know what blows my mind? So I go like to our local auction house. Everybody's rocking these Kubotas. Everywhere I go, these farmers, these industrial type companies, you know, they've got these Kubotas. But then when I ask a buddy of mine about rebuilding the top end on a diesel, and he's like, man, those were notorious for having, what's it called? Paper thin cylinder walls is what he said. He said they warp. He said you can't bore them because they're just too thin. And then same thing with this one. Nathan was telling me that it's got it holds like 1.5 quarts of oil. It's just such a bad design, and to see so many people use them kind of blows my mind. Nick Bolt said, how much for the Can-Am? None of the Can-Ams in here are for sale. So this one isn't mine. Normally everything in the shop's for sale except for my Outlander. My Outlander, she ain't going nowhere. This is a buddy of mine's. This will be featured on the channel sometime in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I started that video today. The Ozark Hunter said, I hope to be famous hunter like Steve Ranella. I don't know who that is. I know who is. Dang it, the crocodile hunter. Steve. I used to watch that dude when I was a kid. Don't get got by the stingrays. Y'all don't have those in Missouri though. Raptor Crazy said, if you want to do a shout out, all you have to do is say their name on the channel. Oh, good point. See, I was thinking of like some little thing to make it pop up on the screen. Because I know once this video goes live to the video versus what it is right now, like if you're watching it live, I believe all y'all can see the comments. But once it goes and it publishes to just to my channel, you can't see the comments anymore. So that's why I have to read off everything. And I sound like I failed all 4 years of high school English, because I did. I got a diploma because my mom worked at the high school. The Ozark Hunter said, I'm going bear hunting in a month, so if anyone wants to see that, subscribe. We are going soon. You know, I bought a Ranger from a guy. And what I'm about to say might not be legal. I don't know. I don't hunt bears, so. Anyway, he was telling me that he would use this like marshmallows. and he'd mix it all up with all this other stuff, and the bears would come get it, and they loved it. He said the craziest thing was as soon as one acorn dropped, the bears were gone. They're gone, nowhere to be found. They go way up in the mountains, can't find them. I don't know how true that is. Brutal Parts said, try stripping sleds. You know, I watched a guy move one of those around on YouTube yesterday, and I was like, ooh, that don't look like fun. Maybe driving it, oh, golly, I can't wait to drive one of those things, but stripping one? Where am I gonna get one in Oklahoma, man? Like, I'm like 20 minutes from Texas. Brutal Parts said a 1.5 quart capacity. I thought that's what you said. JT Outdoors, will you ever build your Outlander for mudding, or are you leaving it stock? Okay, so there's two things there. I want to try racing it. I did the Oklahoma Gold Rush, which is a cross-country race in, what was last year, 2024? 2023. I couldn't make it last year. I want to race it first to see if I would be interested in racing it. If I'm not gonna be interested in racing it, I might do a mild build on it, something just, you know, probably some forward arms, maybe some 30s. Nothing crazy, just because in my opinion, it's too expensive a machine to take it out to where like you take the potential of sinking it kind of riding. That's not my riding style for that. But my buddy brought this over yesterday. So what does he bring me with it? He said they're Ford Escort wheels. They're ugly ass wheels with they're 14-inch tractor tires. They look like BKTs, and I think they're 28s. I'm gonna have to get my hands on either one of these old school Big Bear 350 400s, or maybe old school Honda. It's got to be cheap. It's got to be 4-wheel drive, and something. I want to like if I say Big Bear, I want to try my hand at port and polishing the head, put a cam in it, big bore kit, and throw those on it with some snorkels, and you know, try to be in this unit for like less than $500, so I could take it out and not care one single bit if I destroy it. That's where it's at, you know. So that's where I'm at with the Outlander. Like, we'll see. In the future, it may go. The Goat said, do you ever think about starting a repair shop? You know what, I've been considering doing it a little bit more lately. So this one I took on my buddy's machine. And maybe it's I need to talk to some other people who own shops. What I don't want is I don't want to work on a bunch of people's clapped ass shit. I don't mind working on my stuff that's in a little bit rough, you know, when I buy it, because that's like luck of the draw. You know, I don't really know when I go out and buy it. But if somebody brings me, well, for example, I had somebody ask me how much to paint his Warrior frame, Yamaha Warrior. And while that's an easy job, I'm not gonna paint it for one. But pulling the engine, getting the control arms and all that off, you know, swing arm, taking the frame and getting it powder coated and putting all that back together, sounds like a fun task. My problem is I'm OCD with it too, because like if I do all that, now the A-arm's gotta be done. The swing arm's gotta be done. If you don't wanna do that, that's fine, but I don't wanna paint it. I'm not painting it. And I was like, man, you're probably looking at like $400 for powder alone. That doesn't even include labor. So I don't know, maybe I need to find some people who actually have shops. And how do you go about telling people you only want to work on nicer stuff? You know, so it's not bringing in, because every one of these shops that I've been to, they've got like huge amounts of wasted space on units the customer never picked up. And I don't want to be like that. Like, you know, this Kubota, it technically didn't have to be torn down. I could have just rolled it outside. I got 10 acres of land here. I'm in the middle of nowhere. I could park 1,000 of these here and nobody's gonna say anything. But I don't want that whole yard full of units. And for some reason, when I was parting stuff out, people used to think the same thing, that I would just have, you know, thousands of units that they could come pick through. And that's honestly, that's a good way to not make money, because all your money's sitting there rotting away out in the field. I got off on a tangent on that one, didn't I? Baiting bears is 100% illegal. Okay, I thought so. But I wasn't sure, you know, just. I couldn't remember the dude's name legitimately. I bought too many Rangers in the last 6 months to even be able to point somebody in the right direction. I will say it did end up needing a cam and a clutch. I remember that the Ranger needed a clutch. It broke the clutch spring, and I ended up having to put a cam in it. Brutal Parts said, race this old farm brute. I don't want to race no brute. People are going to get the wrong idea if I'm out there on a Kawasaki. Brittany said, you need a Honda. I know. I need to buy somebody else a Honda too. Kyle said, American flag is needed on the wall. I know. I haven't gotten fully into decorating this shop yet. I kind of do it as I go. We'll see what comes up when I go to the Pate swap meet this year, which is like a month out. I'm gonna go out there and pick some parts. I don't know if y'all have seen some of the older videos where I was doing that, and that's pretty cool. It's a car swap meet. It's supposed to be like the largest car swap meet in the United States. And lo and behold, I go out there and I found, what was it, a set of 33s? No, 30s, like Moto Havocs. I got those for $100. There was a set of Polaris 570, the nice 570 Ranger wheels, like the upgraded model ones. I had those for like 20 bucks, those wheel roller things. I put them up. But if you see on the channel the stuff I put underneath the wheels and I kind of rolled around in the shop, I got those for 20 bucks. I bought a welder for 100 bucks. I don't know. Like I got all of everything. If you search for the channel of Pate Swap Meet, like you can see everything I bought there, including the only thing I bought that I haven't been able to sell is this bumper. Yep, that bumper. I bought that. As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, this SCA bumper. So it comes on, you know the trucks that the dealers have that they come lifted. They want too much money for them, you know. They throw, they'll call them, some of them are Black Widow, Rocky Ridge. I think that one, SCA is Black Widow. So that would have been a Black Widow truck. And that bumper right there is for a 2018 to a 2020 F-150, which is, I have an 18. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna put this on my truck, sweet. And if you look at it, it's an Addictive Desert Designs bumper that they had the SCA put in. I think I bought that thing for 60 bucks. And my truck's blue, that's ruby red, no big deal. I can sort that out. I'll powder coat it black or something. I go to check it out, and lo and behold, the Black Widow trucks are like this much wider on each side, and they run fender flares. I am not a fan of fender flares. So that bumper sticks out just a little bit on each side. So I didn't want to run it. So I had it up for sale originally for like 500, then 300. Sent it to auction. Found out that it didn't sell this last time when I went to go pick the Kubota up, because I sent that to auction and it didn't sell. And I put it on Marketplace for 100 bucks. And lo and behold, I got a guy, he sent me a deposit. He's coming from Missouri to pick it up this weekend. I'll be glad to finally see it gone. At least it was less than a year turnaround time. And then there was a handful of other little parts I bought. I think Nathan at Brutal Parts ended up with them when he bought me out. Raptor Crazy, I appreciate it, man. The Ozark Hunter said, all right, this is awesome live, but I'm headed out. Thanks for the shout out. God bless. Appreciate it, man. Off the streets and in the creeks. Dang, I got a phone call. What I miss? I don't know. I'll be honest with you. Sometimes I don't realize how far I go off into the woods. Like somehow I'm talking about this bumper. when I originally was talking about some of the deals that I find at Pate for ATV parts, which is cool because there's nobody else there buying that stuff. So you can get it cheap. I think I bought, what was it? A backpack full of new old stock stuff for like 20 bucks once. It was so much money worth of stuff. So much money worth of stuff. Old school parts, old school. JT Outdoors, how much should I price a 2002 Honda Rancher 350 two-wheel drive? And I just did a top end on, painted the frame, put new front bearings, rear swing arm bearings and bushings, and am fixing the brakes right now. Where you're at matters the most, and what the plastics look like. It shouldn't be like this, but looks sell better than mechanics. People will buy a nicer looking machine, but they don't, you know, they want nice mechanical too. So I know for me here, an average machine, 1100, a rough one, 7 to 8. We're talking rough, broken plastics, broken racks. A nice like mint condition one, you'd probably 16, 1700. It's harder to sell them because they're two-wheel drive. Brutal Parts, that Maverick looking like a nice part out. That ain't mine. That ain't mine, bro. Can't part that out. Hey, I looked at your store to see if you had parts, but man, parts for that are expensive. Luckily, I didn't have to pay for it. Kristen Stanek said, and if I pronounce your names wrong, I'm not very, my English isn't very good. I was born here. English is my only language, but it's just not very good. Is there any machines you avoid buying? I don't like Arctic Cats very much, but I'll probably do some in the future for the channel. Just straight up avoid buying. I would probably, after finding out what I have recently, the early Wildcats, there's certain issues I'll avoid buying too, so it's kind of hard to say. Something I just won't buy. Any of the old stuff, Chinese machines, I don't buy those. Anything Chinese, it's too hard to sell. Anything real old, like anything from the 80s, that stuff, like you have to be dirt cheap, you know, like $500 for a running driving four-wheeler, and it's still not the easiest thing to sell. Like I know the older Motor 4s. That does not include stuff like the 350D or the two-stroke, anything two-stroke. No, not anything two-stroke. Suzuki's. I don't much care for Suzuki's. The LTZs are sweet, but the rest of them, eh. So there's, I mean, it's kind of everywhere. Also cleaned up the staining on the motor and the rear diff. Yeah, I mean, where you're at really matters with that, man. Because like if you're 20 minutes outside of Dallas, you're gonna be able to get a whole lot more than I can here. But if you're in the middle of nowhere like me, somewhere in Tennessee, Oklahoma, Arkansas, you might be on the lower end. You might be closer to 1,000. So it's hard for me to say without seeing it. And I don't know your local market. Brutal Parts said, where's that swap meet? It's in Fort Worth. Do you want to go? Dalton said, my Rancher 420 turnover fast, then sometimes struggles to turn over. Any idea? Okay, so this one, that could be your starter. Very well could be your starter. But I have had more than one person, 2 of my friends had 420s and told me the same thing. They called me to pick my brain and see what they thought. You know, what do you think's going on here? Like, it doesn't want to turn over. And I'm like, dude, that sounds like your starter. It's a brand new starter. Like, did you get an OEM one? They tried 2 different starters. One of the dudes tried 2 different starters. Both of them had to replace their wiring harness, and it fixed it. He had an OBS. It was a 2012. His was, I think, a 14. The other one was a 12 and one was a 14. Both of them had to replace the harness. because it's something to do with the starter. I don't understand that, but it fixed it. Off the streets and in the creeks. Biggest thing on those Honda 350, 450 is the screens. I actually know a guy in Alaska who can fix those. He is on, there's a Honda ATV page, old school forum. He's on that. AK something. If anyone ever needs to get a hold of that and needs that 350, 450 screen repair, I have no idea what he charges, but I used to send him all my broken gauges. He would buy all my broken 350, 450 gauges so that he could use them as rebuildable cores. M. Spivey said, yeah, man, I'm a slow reader. It's also not real easy, like, cause I'm right here to the screen, like it's not far, but I don't know, I can't read it that great. Off the streets and in the creeks. Are the Honda 300 4-tracks popular up there? They're like gold down here in Texas, yes. Everybody who likes the Honda 300. What I find with the Honda 300 is you have like different people. You got the old man who had one once, and he loves them because they're solid units. Sure. Rides like a dumpster. I'm pretty sure no suspension is just as comfortable as one of those, but that's beside the point. Then you get the guys who have too much money and will drop, $25,000 in a 1986 or like, because there was one color that was like a special cosmic blue that was only in 93 or something like that. And I don't quote me on that. I know there's certain colors that are very hard to get a hold of and people will pay extremely good money for them. I mean, like I see on the Honda Hoarders page, like people paying like, there was one of them that came across there, I think they wanted $6,000. It was just a mint condition one, stock. That's a special, it's like a 96. So it's not even old enough to be like vintage to belong in someone's collection, like you got an 88 250 or 87 250R, 87, 300 4-tracks to go with it. That I understand. And then you got the people who, which is the majority of them, who everybody wants it, but no one wants to pay for it because it's a Honda 300. I can never get more. They're like a $1,000 quad, unless it's mint. You might be able to get more if it's mint, but they're like a $1,000 quad. Brutal Parts said avoid the Chinese machines. Dalton said new starter, new battery, new solenoid. Does it turn over slow? Are you able to get it to start? That's one good question. Does it ever actually start? Are you able to get it to turn over quickly if you put power directly to the battery? Not the battery, the starter. I know I bought a 420 a while back. I thought it had good compression because the way it turned over sounded like it had good compression. I screwed up, made a huge mistake. I was checking it out, wasn't paying no attention. Stripped the spark plug in the hole. Only time I've ever done that. I was planning on fixing this 420 for me because I wanted one at the time. And luckily I did, because then I ended up before I bought plastics and everything, I ended up taking the head off to check it out to get the spark plug fixed because I screwed that up. The rod had just enough stiffness in it to make it feel like it had a good compression. So it's kind of hard to say. It's really hard to troubleshoot a unit over the phone. Brutal Parts said couple 350Ds on the lot. You know them 350Ds part out really well. They're not ripping those parts off yet. It's a 2011. It burnt. I've already bought two. It burnt the old one up. It burnt what? You may want to look into that harness thing I was talking about. It could be your harness. Because I'm seeing your other comments here. That sounds like the same issues both of my buddies had, and harness was the only thing to fix them. And if it's foot shift, that harness isn't too expensive. The 2011 foot shift, but if it's like ES and got power steering and all that, yeah, it kind of gets up there. P-Boy said, hi, how are you doing? Man, I'm doing pretty good. It's a little cold out here, but we're out here, you know, in the shop. Off the streets and in the creek. I think the robin color was only made in Canada. Yes, that might be what I was thinking of. That might be exactly what I was thinking of. Caden Williams said, have a great night, dude. You too, bro. I think I might end up having to shut this down soon because my battery is almost dead on my phone. We are at 14% and going down fast. Dalton said it turns over quickly sometimes, and then it struggles. Screen goes dim and stuff. Another thing to check is make sure your power wires aren't damaged. I don't know how to tell you to test that internally. Off the streets and in the creeks. Dalton said, Dalton, that sounds like a bad ground. Yeah, possibly. Dalton said it's sadly ES with power steering. Power steering is pretty sweet. It's hard to find one that's foot shift with power steering, if they even make those. The ES, I mean, at least you can put the bolt on shifter. Kristen Stanek said, I have a ton of old Polaris 2-stroke parts. Do you ever sell those parts? No. I don't mess with those because the parts are so hard to get rid of. All of the ones that I ever did, I mean, even going back to like 2013, they've always been hard to get rid of for me. Unless it's like the 400s. The 400s have a bit more value because those cases, Todd Kirby, the Polaris guy, was telling me those cases are getting harder and harder to get, and a lot of people still like to run these scramblers and stuff. But I assume you're talking about like the ones with the steel racks on them. Transmissions, gas tanks. Yeah, that's the only thing you ever really make any money on selling. The 4-wheel drive transmissions are obviously worth a bit more than the old 2-wheel drive. And the gas tanks, like if it's got the cover on, because if it doesn't have the cover on, it's been sitting outside, man, them gas tanks, they crack up so fast. Dalton said it's an IRS. You know, my buddy Danny's was the same thing. His was an IRS, and he was having the same issue. I borderline was like, I don't understand how the harness would affect this to begin with, but maybe it's voltage related. I'm hands-on, I can't read a manual and learn that much from it. But my other buddy, his was a solid axle. He told me about that. I would look into that. Dalton said, I'm gonna look into it. Runs great, but struggles to turn over at certain points, but love the videos, keep them coming. Appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. I'm hoping to get to 2 a week. Brian sending me a bunch of, are you on here right now? Your Can-Am's in the back. Yeah, you could comment instead. But yeah, guys, I think I'm about to log off as another, he sent me pictures of the truck he traded for that Can-Am. He photo dumped me. Lee Bryant said, hello from Kentucky, love your videos. Man, I appreciate it, man. I'm glad y'all watch them. These, little sneak peek, these are probably the next 3 videos. But yeah, guys, I think I'm about ready to log off. I think it's like 40 degrees out here now, and I'm not built for the cold. I don't know how y'all do this up north. This is probably warm. I bet this is warm for somebody who's in New York. I think I saw earlier it said something about Kansas getting snow today. Nah, I'm tropical. All right, guys. Thanks for logging on here with me. And we'll do another one. Maybe we'll do this like every other week. That's what I'm kind of thinking. Maybe every other week. Some just kind of like, you know, make it to where people can log in and ask me questions about like maybe something I did on the past few videos or something like that. Kristen Stanek said getting snow in Iowa today. Woo, no. But y'all get snowmobiles, so I guess you win there. I don't think I could ride a snowmobile out here. All right, guys. Catch you later.